Do you forget stuff all the time? Is your memory garbage? Would you like it to get better? Well, you're in luck because today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to improve your memory. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
So, Danny, how's your memory?
I think my memory is actually really good when I choose to use it. If that makes
Hmm.
sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I sometimes every once in a while, you guys who listen to the podcast will probably notice I'll be trying to remember something to say and it'll just like gone. But that's really the only
That is
time it
everybody.
happens where I lose stuff with my memory. But I also don't try to remember that much stuff anyways. So, that being said, we each have three suggestions for how to improve your memory. I'll go first since it's my week. My first one is write it down. Now, this is something it's beneficial twofold. So the first off is if you're trying to remember a whole bunch of stuff, you're just going to lose it all. It's like trying to juggle a whole bunch of balls. It just doesn't happen. So if you write it down, it clears your mind from it. But actually, the how I actually meant it when I first wrote it down, when I wrote it down, wrote
When
it
I
when I wrote
remember,
down, wrote it down. No, was yeah. So like people ask me all the time, like how I'm able to remember names because I meet people and I remember their names, and it's because I write it down. I have a name list on my phone. And when I say hi to somebody, I try my darndest to remember it for 5 minutes until I'm alone and I write it down on my phone along with some stuff about them. And people think that I have an incredible memory for names, but it's not true. I just write it down. I have a simple system that works.
but you found a system that works for you, and I think that's the important part. You've identified it, and you found a system that works. And you're right though. It's funny. People forget how much it's like they don't whether you're typing it out on your phone or writing it by hand, like with a pen and pencil, like or something, pen and paper rather. That act of actually physically committing it does do something where it like connects more neurons or something where you remember it better. I know it does because I've used that tactic for so many different things to
And
remember, and
plus,
it really does
and
work
plus, I
well.
have the list available. So I've oftentimes I'll forget their name,
Yeah.
and I'll just go pull out my
Yeah.
phone, look real fast, and be like, ah, that's it. And then like after doing that a time or two, I end up remembering it.
You know what's funny? Speaking of just going back to what you said at the very beginning, I think people think of memory, think they should remember everything. I think that's the other thing you got to learn how to do is remember what's important. Because you can look a lot of stuff up. You can look most stuff up these days. So you need to like remember what's important, and then you can kind of look up the rest of it
And
for
what you
future.
and
That's
what
a
you
good,
can't look up, you can just ask Chat GPT and it'll figure it out
yeah,
for you.
it'll solve the problem for you. There
Yeah.
you go. You don't need to know anything.
Mhm.
My first one is one we mentioned at the time, but I think it's worth mentioning again, which is read. I think reading is a great way to improve your memory. Especially like you don't have to, I mean, like read whatever you want. I think reading for fun is a great way to do it too, because like just like anything you can engage with will help you get that process going and help you remember the story and all that. And it just builds this like it helps exercise that muscle, that memory muscle, which I think does promote better memory long term. I mean, they've said that they've done studies where they found that numerous times where people who like exercise their brain and keep using it right are less likely to have problems with memory later in life and stuff like that. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. And reading is great for it because it also improves your vocabulary. And they've done studies where like income is related to vocabulary. Clearly not on the topic of memory, but it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, if you want to earn more, maybe you should learn more.
hey, and if you want
Uh,
to be like one of the top Americans in anything, reading's like an easy place to start. Read like two books
the
a year
bar
and
is
then
so
boom.
low.
It's super low.
So low. So my next one for how to improve your memory is do something along the lines of Wim Hof or meditating, something like that. The reason I say this is so when I used to meditate regularly, the first noticeable, appreciable benefit I got from meditating was actually remembering people's names. And this was like years ago. But now I do Wim Hof in the mornings, and it's just like something, it just clears. Like I feel like every day I have all these leaves that fall down in my mind, and doing the Wim Hof breathing is just me like sweeping them up and just starting with a clean slate every day. And it's just like, it makes it so much easier to remember stuff.
That's a great way that's a great metaphor though, because it's funny, like meditation. I remember when I studied Buddhism, this is going back a while, but like I remember one of the authors had said like the goal of meditation was like to untie the psychic knots. And there is something there. Like it's about finding that clarity and balance within your mind, dealing with all the problems, all the things that cause distractions, stress, worry, and starting to sort of untie them and letting them go. And so you free up. I don't think most people realize how much mental space is wasted every day on stresses, worrying about problems that you can't solve, imagination, past, fear of the future, all that. And like if you start to untie that stuff and deal with these things, you free up so much of your mental space for dealing with everyday problems, remembering things, and like just life, right? So I think, yeah, it's like meditation's super important for that. Finding that balance. It's a good one.
Hmm.
My next one is learn new things. This is actually, and I think particularly like, yes, learn new things, particularly things that you're interested in. I was thinking about Plato in his Meno. One of the things they point out is that like in the search for wisdom or the search for truth, curiosity is necessary. Like you have to get perplexed. You have to get to a state of like wonderment or curiosity or awe, because that's going to motivate you to try to learn. When you think you know everything, you're not going to bother, right? You're not going to try to learn anything new. So you have to get curious. And one way to get curious is pursue stuff that interests you. If it's tinkering with robotics, do that. If it's science, read science stuff. If it's, you know, learning all about anime, read about anime. Whatever it is, just do new things, because new things will expand your mind. They make new neural connections and help you remember more.
Yeah, that's a great point because it gets you out of a rut. Like a lot of times, if you're just doing the same thing over and over again, it's almost on autopilot. And once you
Oh
try
God,
something
don't I know
new,
it?
yeah, I know. And then you try something new and you make all these new connections, and then you have like you recall stuff that you haven't thought about in a long time because it touched something somewhere.
You know, it's crazy too. Like, I don't know about you, but like, I know like certain things I do for fun. Like, if I don't do them for a while and then go back to them, I'm like shocked at how much I know about it too. I'm like, oh my God, I remember all this stuff. Like, it just comes right back. It floods back. It's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's like riding a bicycle.
Yep. That's the metaphor. That's the
Yeah.
metaphor.
So my last one for how to improve your memory is use it or lose it. It's like that thing from that saying from 40-year-old version. Is it true if you don't use it, you lose it? And is that a serious question? Yeah. But I think with your memory, it is true. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so many people just spend 4 to 6 hours on average decaying their mind just with like mind-numbing TV or scrolling social media. But I'm staying
Yeah.
connected. And it's like, nah, your brain is literally decaying in your head. So yeah, I mean, it's up to you if you want to use it to build something or if you just you're either growing or dying, and it's
Yeah,
kind of up to you.
basically.
Yeah.
It's when you said that too, the first thing that came to mind is like I remember this is I don't know if anybody else has a similar experience, but I had some older relatives I remember who like after they retired, they just did nothing. And it's like I could see their decline. And it was really sad. Like it's like they didn't know what to do with themselves. They had no purpose anymore. And they just like, but they didn't know how to find new things. So they just you could just see them deteriorate. And it's really sad, but it's the truth. Like we live a lot longer now than we ever lived before. Life is a lot easier in a lot of ways. You can do nothing, and so you need to be active or you will lose it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you make a point there how we live a lot longer because like a lot of people are like, oh, my best years were like, from when I was a child until like my teens until university. Like that was an amazing life, and it's like you literally have that long in life between when you retire and when you die. Are
Yeah,
you just going to
yeah.
sit it parked in front of a TV, or are you going to go make something out of it?
And twice that in the middle. Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's freaking
yeah,
nuts.
dude. It's crazy.
Hmm.
My last one actually I think is like it goes along well with what you were just saying too, which is just limit distractions. I think we forget about this too. Like I know myself, like I remember, and you know, this is dating myself. I remember like when I first started at college, people were using like AOL Instant Messenger and stuff and all, and like email was a big thing. Like you got, they were important. Emails were really important, whatever. And
And
I had to
multitasking
actually,
was a
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, right. I had to
Put it
turn
on
all
your
that stuff
resume. You
off.
can multitask.
I can do more than one thing at once. Yeah, but I remember having to actually shut that stuff off because I realized like when I was trying to do my schoolwork and stuff, it was such a distraction because you feel this impulse to check every 5 minutes, right? And I mean, the same thing applies now with all this social media and stuff because you get notifications, you get all these things to distract you, and you have to shut them off. If you really want to increase your memory, you have to also increase your ability to focus and learn to focus. And the way to do that is to limit distractions and do one thing at a time.
Bingo, you said it there. And I mean, it's not only just like in terms of distractions like social media, but it's also like in terms of what's your purpose in life? Like, what do you want to get done?
Yeah.
Because it's very easy
Yeah.
to do a whole bunch of stuff your whole life and then it be over and not actually do what you wanted to do with your life because you got distracted.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Very simple. How to improve your memory. I almost forgot what we were talking about. Clearly, I need to take a hint from us and start
Uh,
doing these quick fixes. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this episode or listening to it with us. If you did enjoy it, make sure to share. Check it out on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Andy.